Tonight's topic is how to wholesale. To anybody who is new to Grid, Grid is a network of 14,000 strong and growing very rapidly. One of the things I love about Grid personally is I feel like when we hear the word real estate investing, we think fix and flip or we think buy and hold. But Grid really gives everybody, all of its members, a 360-degree view of how to make money in investment real estate. And tonight's topic is one of those ways, how to assign your rights to a contract in order to turn a profit. Quick introduction about myself. I am an agent with Coldwell Banker Preferred here in Old City, Philadelphia. I am an investor myself, although really my passion is working with investors, helping them purchase investment properties and sell investment properties. I've been doing this for 14 years and with no end in sight. So if you guys want to type in the chat bar, share your information, any questions, chime in with any questions. If you have stories, the more we share, the more everybody will learn and the more information we will come out of the meeting with. Just a legal disclaimer, tonight's topic deals with a lot of contractual legal stuff. I am not a lawyer. If you're going to get started in assigning contracts, you should definitely speak with a lawyer and make sure that you have a legal professional working alongside you. So, Mike, I heard that you have wholesaled before. Is there anybody else that's joined so far that has wholesaled or assigned a contract? All right. I can't see who you are, but I see you raising your hand. Cool. To anybody who has not assigned a contract, what that means is, for example, if my neighbor says, hey, I've got a house to sell, I know that you're in real estate, I'm looking to get 100K for it. If you know anybody, that's what I want to sell it for. All right. And I know that I can find a buyer for that property for 105 or 110 or 120K. I can write a contract or an agreement to purchase that property from my neighbor, assign the rights to somebody else, have them settle for 120K or 115, whatever the number is, and then I get off an assignment profit. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. So to give an example here, and we're going to go into the numbers in depth, but just to make things very, very easy, if you located a property that would be worth $100,000 after a $10,000 renovation, and again, we're going to get into the math of this in a second, you can be confident that an investor would purchase this for at least $55,000. And again, I'll go into the math. So if I knew I could sell it for $55,000 and I found that if I knew that I could find somebody to pay $55,000 and I put it under contract for $50,000, I would make an assignment fee of $5,000. All right, now where do those numbers come from? Essentially in Philadelphia, for all of you people, for everybody on the call that is in the Philadelphia market, the closing costs to sell and to purchase to combined are roughly 12 to 13%. All right, and then if you add in holding costs and carrying costs, we can round that to 15%. All right, so 15% is your cost to purchase and to sell. Most investors are looking for a 20% profit. So 35% is what we're going to subtract from the after repair value. And again, this is just a really quick, easy way to determine if this is a deal that might be worth assigning. All right, so we take the after repair value times 65% or minus 35%, same thing, and then subtract out the improvement costs. And then the number that's left over is the number that most investors would pay for that property. If we're able to purchase it for less, then we know that there's a potential assignment deal there. Does anybody have any questions on that? All right, I just want to make sure that you guys understand that math. If you have any questions, type them into the chat bar or unmute yourselves and feel free to ask. And Mike, since you've done this, I know it's a little bit different in different markets because, things like transfer taxes are different and that sort of thing. Is this the mathematic formula that you use, or what has worked for you?
Yeah, that's pretty close to what we're seeing here in DC area too. So yeah, I mean, it's not varied by much, but there's some slight variance there.
Yeah. I mean, and keep in mind, these numbers can fluctuate up or down. If you know that a deal, if somebody's looking to fix and flip and it'll sell immediately, maybe an investor would do it for less profit. Or if it's a riskier deal, it's going to take longer, more holding costs. You might expect more than the 20%. But for starters, just to do a quick mathematical calculation, this would be a good way to start here in Philadelphia. All right, so some questions about assignment contracts. First question that people ask, is it legal? And the answer, again, I'm not an attorney, is yes. So you are not assigning, you are assigning your rights for somebody else to purchase a property that you've agreed to purchase. And in most cases, if you're planning to do this, on the buyer line of the contract, you want to write and or assigns, so it gives you the ability to assign the contract. You also want to make sure that there are no clauses in the contract that would prohibit you from assigning your right. Again, consult with an attorney if you have any questions about that. Do you need to have a real estate license to assign a contract? The answer is no. Again, if you haven't done it before, it's probably a good idea to consult with a licensee or an attorney, but you don't need a real estate license to do this. You will want to consult with an attorney or real estate agent to get a contract that is valid. Next question that people ask, where do you find buyers, right? Where do you find potential buyers? Pretend that somebody wants to sell you a house. You feel like it may be undervalued. They just want to get out from under it. Certainly here at our grid meetings, there are, again, 14,000 plus members. Everybody, most investors here are looking for deals. I know if you are a realtor, I've got investors all the time, so you can talk to other agents. A lot of wholesalers will pay a real estate commission too. So, get in touch, look around your market and see where the opportunities may be. Next question, do you have to buy the property if the buyer fails to perform? Well, the answer is it depends on how the contract's written, and, it's not necessarily the case. Check with an attorney. Depending on how the contract's written, you may have the right to terminate if the assignee, if the assignment buyer does not complete the transaction. Or there are other mechanisms to protect yourself. One of the things that some people do is they will offer a certain deposit to purchase the property, but they will charge the assignment buyer a larger deposit. So if both buyers end up defaulting, the costs are covered. Again, check with an attorney, but the answer to the question is not necessarily. How do you end up getting paid for an assignment contract? Typically, it is a line item on the HUD. So it will say, assignment fee to X, and then you get a check along with the seller. How much money do I need to start wholesaling? Well, it doesn't really take any money at all. This is essentially a marketing business. So really, if you have a deal and you're able to market that out to your sphere of influence or investors that you work with, you could potentially do this with no outlay at all. Do you need to understand renovation costs, ARV after repair value, or soft costs for a project to wholesale it? You know, again, not necessarily. It's a good idea that you understand these things. Wholesaling, you know, or assignment contracts is not something that the novice or the first time, you know, if you're a new investor, you really should have somebody advising you on this process. But again, it is a way to turn a profit quickly if you're looking to invest in real estate. How do you handle settlement? Well, typically, you know, the buyer is going to choose the settlement company. Sellers and buyers, especially these days, are closing at different times. You know, one of the concerns is, what if the assignment buyer sees this big assignment fee, and aren't they going to be upset by that? You know, no. I mean, the assignment buyer is buying buying the rights to the contract based off of their numbers. So I did 3 or 4 assignment deals last fall. You know, the buyer sees exactly what the assignment fee is. If the numbers are working for them, then everybody wins. Should you pull title on the property? Yes, definitely. And typically in the assignment contracts that I've seen, there's going to be a clause that allows the buyer to terminate if there is not clear title that's conveyed, or if there are liens and encumbrances against the title that can't be cleared out. But always, it's a good idea to pull title when you're purchasing a piece of real estate. So I wanted to open up to questions. What questions do you guys have on wholesaling?
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Sam. How you doing?
Hey, Sam. Great. How are you?
Good. This is my first meeting, so thanks a lot for hosting.
Yeah, you're welcome. Please join future meetings.
I plan to. Thanks. I've done a couple wholesale deals in the past, but I understand I haven't done one in a little bit, and I understand that the laws are changing in Philly. What are the rumors true? You have to become registered as a wholesale agent or something? What can you tell me about where we are with that as far as being a wholesaler in Philly now?
That's a really good question. I don't know, to be honest with you. I have acted in the capacity of an agent. So I've had wholesalers reach out to me. I have reached out to investors, put the deal together as a buyer's agent, essentially, and then collected a commission. I'm not really sure what the laws are locally or how they might be changing with regards to if you're wholesaling. I would imagine, and again, I can get the answers for you and email it out after the meeting. So I'll do some research for you. I would imagine part of it has to do with how you're marketing the deal. Aside from that, I'll have to look into it for you, Sam.
I appreciate that, because I heard that there are rumors that they were going to charge a wholesaler's fee at one time, but I think that I heard something about them having to register with the city of Philadelphia as a wholesaler or something like that in order to do deals now. So that would be great if you could find out. Thanks.
Yeah,
Matt.
no problem. And just out of curiosity, in what capacity have you done wholesale deals? Have you been the wholesaler, or have you been the buyer who signs?
I've been the wholesaler. I've wholesaled a couple of deals. I work as an investor on the side. My main job is I'm a mortgage broker that caters, to conventional loans, and then we have a whole department that caters to investors and everything like that. So that's my main job. So I do some wholesaling on the side.
And where did the deals typically come from?
The wholesale deals I did, both of them were in Philadelphia.
No, I mean, but where did they originate? How do they find you?
Through some mailings, some drive-bys, some leads from some other people. I work with some other people that find leads for me.
Oh, so you're actually finding these people. You're going out, you're finding the deals. offering to purchase the property and then
That's what
assign.
I was doing. That's what I was doing in the beginning, but right now I have I have quite a few people that that find the deals and I implement the deal.
Awesome. And have you had a deal where the assignment buyer didn't close and you end up purchasing those properties?
No, it's never happened.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
God.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just a question that I have, because I've never acted in the capacity of a wholesaler, is there any sort, when you're determining, how do I ask the question? Is there a certain percentage of the price that you're looking for as a wholesale fee? Or is it just, whatever you can get?
So sorry about the dogs.
That's all right.
I'm going to put you on mute for a second. They're going to go for a minute.
Okay, no problem. Who else has questions?
Hey, Matt, this is Charlie. I have a question for you.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm completely new to the idea of wholesaling. I'm curious what kind of time frame you can expect between drawing up the contract with a seller and having to find a buyer to assign it to before closing or having to default on the contract.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal question, and I'm going to answer it the same way I answer most questions. It totally depends. So it depends on the seller you're working with. In most cases, if you're offering to buy a property cash, the seller is going to want to close as soon as possible. Typically, when I've been involved in a wholesale deal, it's a 30-day close. Oftentimes, the closing date gets extended, especially if the assignment buyer is getting financing, whether it's private or through a hard money loan. And usually the parties will work together if that's the case. But if you are planning to act as a buyer who's going to assign the contract to cover your own bases, I definitely wouldn't recommend closing in less than 30 days, because to be able to flip that around and get everything to work on time, would be, I think overly risky to you as the primary buyer. Does that make sense?
It does. And a quick follow-up question. I don't want to derail us too much from Sam's question.
No, not at all. I mean, this is what this section is for.
Is that something you're upfront with the seller about? I'm hoping to assign this to a buyer with that in mind. Can we put together a realistic time frame to close by?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, typically a seller is not going to want to hear that.
Right.
A lot of times what people that I work with will do is say, I'm going to purchase your property. I work with a lot of partners out there, and it's possible that the end buyer of the property, may be somebody other than who's on the contract, maybe a partner, an LLC, and just know, Mr. Seller, that whoever shows up to the closing table, you're going to get the money that you agreed to sell the property for.
Got it. That's helpful. Thank you.
Sure, no problem. Sam, have the dogs vacated? No, they're still there. All right. Other questions?
Hey, Matt, quick question for you about the agent side of a wholesale deal. How was your experience working with your investors, like closing out a wholesale deal?
Is this Zach?
Yes.
Hey, Zach. It's been, for me personally, it's been mixed. I have one deal right now where there have been just massive title issues. So it's been extended multiple times. And, with these sorts of transactions, in this particular case, somebody wanted to sell a property. It was an estate. They hadn't gone through the probate process. It turned out there are other people who may have a legal interest in the property. So, these things happen. Now, the flip side of that is it's such a great deal for the assignment buyer and in exactly the location that he likes to invest in, that he's fine with extending this indefinitely if need be. But there can be those sorts of issues that arise.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Hey, Matt, can I chime in on that as well?
Yeah, sure.
So, I was thinking of jumping in earlier, but I want to let you speak. I think for the novice, the rookie wholesaler, finding a good agent that's investor friendly, doing a little bit of digging to find somebody who may either be working with a lot of investors or an investor themselves is really beneficial to somebody that's just starting out. You can learn a lot. They can help you make all those connections that you need to make and bridge a lot of those gaps fairly easily. I know personally, I'm an agent. I'll be working with a lot of investors and speaking to a lot of wholesalers. And I'm in the DC area, but if anybody has questions, Matt, I'd like to put my info in there too. And
Awesome.
help anybody. I mean, we can do things like pull lists. We've got tons of buyer lists. We can pull property lists and help people just kind of get on their way. And we help a lot of investors. So I would recommend finding an agent-friendly investor to at least help you get started. And once you kind of get your wits about you and figure things out, you'll learn a lot in the process of just purchasing your first couple properties.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll decide that you don't need that agent, or you start doing some marketing, or you start doing some networking, and you can kind of do some of that stuff on your own. But I would highly recommend to anybody starting out, speak to an agent, somebody that works with investors, and that'll go a long way for getting you going.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the other thing is, it's common, at least in Philly, for wholesalers to send out email blasts with deals. Just be careful, because the after repair values that they indicate on those emails a lot of times are not accurate, or they may be short-sighted, which is, again, to what Mike's saying, it's a good idea if you're not an agent, or if you are an agent who's representing a buyer, always do your own due diligence to make sure that whatever assuming it's going to be a flip, that the after repair value is, the market will actually support that.
Yeah, totally. And again, an investor friendly agent would more than likely help you with running comps or doing any of that stuff. So another good reason to have that connection.
And Mike, remind me again, in what capacity have you been involved in investment deals? Are you involved as an agent? You're finding the broker for the buyer, or are you the actual person purchasing the property and assigning it, or the wholesaler?
No, I'm more of the agent role. Like I said, I'm on the investor team of the Casa Group, who I work for. Okay. So we're always looking to meet wholesalers and really anybody that we can connect people with. And if we can get in on a buyer deal, or we work with a lot of developers too on the back end. So somebody might need to find a buyer for their wholesale property. We can, introduce you to the developer, and then we can then get the sale on the back end. So there's a couple ways to work ourselves into these deals. But, we're just looking to network and meet people, and, the deals will come for us. So, yeah, that's kind of it.
Awesome. Cool. Any other questions? All right. So I will be sending out an email to everybody with everybody else's contact information in case you want to reach out to anybody that's part of tonight's discussion. And if you want a copy of the slide deck or a copy of the recorded meeting, I'm happy to send out that link as well. You know how to contact me through the Meetup platform. And Sam, your dog still there?
They're still here, just quiet at the moment. Thankfully.
Okay. What final thoughts did you have? I forget exactly what we were discussing.
The question you asked me was about pricing and everything, and you definitely use the 65% as a starting place. It doesn't mean that you can't do it if it's less, and you can certainly do it if it's more. There are a lot of people out there, like I'm finding these days, that some of the better buyers are people that own their own construction companies, because then the margins aren't quite as big if they own their own company, because the renovations aren't going to be as much. So, don't be scared if it doesn't hit that 65, but you just, it may sit a little bit longer. And to, I think it was Charlie's question. Yeah, I did the same. I do the same thing when I do the attractive thing about wholesaling for a motivated buyer is that they're going to get their cash quickly, more quickly than a normal real estate deal, and usually. And so I always put in there, I give myself a little leeway, about 30 to 45 days in there, because a lot of times on some of these properties, title becomes a problem on a lot of these properties. And there's some issues that need to be worked out on title.
Yeah, and the deal that I was telling you about that ran into some probate issues, the way the contract's written, the settlement date actually automatically extends until somebody terminates it. So that sort of thing is common. My question though, Sam, wasn't about, and I'm glad you chimed in and shared your thoughts about the mathematical formula, was more about, as a wholesaler, is there a certain percentage of the deal that you're looking to capture as a wholesale fee?
No, there's not. I've been involved in deals that have been as little, and I say little, but it's still nice, $2,000-$3,000 up to $20,000.
Yeah.
It really depends on what the ARV is going to be, and which is important. And as part of any investor's team, in any investor's team, it's important to have a good real estate agent with you to get good comps and everything like that and work with them. And there's no percentage, no. I just try to price it so that I can serve the buyer and the seller at the right, and having, in that time frame, and have that property sold in that time frame. So I'm sorry, there's not a magic. I don't have a magic percentage or anything.
No, and I think that's probably the way that most people look at it. If you find a buyer, you can make some money, make the buyer happy, and be the broker of that deal, then so much the better for everybody. Amy, did you have a question? All right, guys. Any other questions, thoughts, comments? Cool. Well, thanks for joining. I'll be sending out a post email to everybody. Have a great night. The next call is on Thursday, February 18th. The subject is how to market for deals. Please plan to join. I'll be sending out a link for registration and invite as many people as you can. I want to get the attendance super, super high for these meetings. Okay. Have a great night, everybody.
Matt, can you stay on for a sec?
Yeah, sure.
Hey, since this is my first, I don't even know what grid stands for. I mean, I was just wondering what the philosophy of the meeting is, and how do we network with fellow people here?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually all of the grid chapters, grid was started by a guy named Rob Chavez, who's based out of Reston, Virginia, in, I believe it was 2007. There are now, I believe, 13 chapters or 14 chapters in 5-6 different states. It's rapidly expanding, and Grid is now consolidated to one Facebook page. So I'll send out a link to that page so that you can join. You can post deals there. You can
really?
work with everybody who's involved in Grid and find some deals.
And that's through the Facebook page?
Yes. Yep.
Very nice.
You can also, sorry to jump in, Rob, I work for Rob. So you can also go to gridinvestor.com and sign up there. And you'll get some emails about future meetups and stuff like that too. So definitely check that out.
Thank you.
Sure.
Gridinvestor.com.
Awesome, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt.
Awesome, Matt. Thanks a lot.